All right, welcome to Unit 12. So if you're just joining us, you maybe want to go back up and watch the exploration of the law of sine. So we just kind of showed you how we got this law that we're going to be using for this unit. Let's write it down, then we'll kind of show you what this really means. But the law of sine says this. It says the sine of an angle A over a side A is equal to the sine of angle B over side B, which is equal to the sine of angle C over little c. Now, on this, let's look at this triangle right here. So when we use the law of sines, we're going to use it on a triangle that is not necessarily a right triangle. Okay, we do not know if there's a right angle here. We're going to use the law of sines. Notice they've labeled their vertices here of the triangle with capital letters. Okay, A, B, C, so that's what I used here. You could use any letter. These could be D, E's, and F's, and the same thing, you would just fill in up there. Those are just fine. The thing that you have to watch out for is when you call this vertex right here angle A, the side across from it or opposite that has to be the lowercase a. All right, same thing here. Capital A or capital C, small c. Capital B, lowercase b. All right, so the law of sines, we use this when we know two angles in a triangle. So if you know two angles in a triangle, by the way, if you know two angles of a triangle, you really know three, because remember, all of your angles in a triangle add up to 180. So if you know two of these, you could find that missing angle. But if you are given two angles in one side, you can use this law of sines to find any other side in the triangle. So let's show you how this works. Backing up here really quickly, you're only going to use two of these proportions. Okay, so it's either the sine of A over A is equal to sine of B over B, or sine of A over A is equal to sine of C over C, or B is equal to C. So you're just going to use two of them, and I'm going to show you how to figure out which ones you're going to use. So let's look at example 1. First thing you want to do is label your triangle. Okay, we're just going to be generic and call this A, B, and C, just like our example did. Now the tricky thing is, remember, you got to label the side. So you go across from angle A to little a, across from angle C to little c, across from angle B to little b. Now, this is how I tell which of those two proportions or three proportions you're going to use. I always look for what they're asking. Okay, so there's my X right there. Notice I have it labeled as an A. So that means that I'm going to need to use that ratio as part of my proportion. Okay, so I'm going to say the sine of A over little a is equal to. The next thing that I look for, because you could find any of the angles, I ignore which angles I know. I look for the side that I know, because I only want one missing information. This one is already an X. That little a is an X. So I don't want to use B because I don't know what that side is either. So always look for the side that you know. So notice right here, I know that 10, which I called C. So I'm going to use the sine of angle C over little c. And that's probably the hardest part of this, of what we're doing here. So now you're going to grab your, or you're just going to plug in all these lovely values here. So we're going to say, well, the sine of angle A was 52 degrees. So we're going to plug in that 52 degrees for A right there. Over little a, plug in what little a was. There's our X. We don't know what that was. Is equal to the sine of angle C. There's my angle C, 34 degrees, over little c, which was 10. All right, so now when we're solving this proportion right here, if you'll remember back either last year or clear back even maybe in 7th grade, but basically what you're doing here is you're going to use, we call it the cross product property. You take the top of one side of the equation and you multiply it with the bottom of the other side. So on this one, I'm going to have this, I always write my numbers first. So 10 times the sine of 52 degrees is equal to, and then it's equal to the top of the other side times the bottom. So that X times the sine of 34 degrees. And we're almost done. Remember, we're just trying to solve for this X. We want to get X by itself. So we're going to divide. Notice this sine of 34 is just multiplied to my X. So to undo it, we're just going to divide by that sine of 34 degrees divide by the sine of 34 degrees, and plug this straight into your calculator. And I forgot my calculator, so you're going to need to give me 2 seconds while I go grab my calculator. I'll be right back. All right, so I've got my calculator here. So we're just going to plug this in exactly how it is. We've got 10 times the sine of 52. Sine of 52. I always hit enter right there, but if you don't, that's fine. Just close your parentheses. You could just hit enter and then divide it by the sine of 34. And my calculator tells me x is equal to 14.09. We're just going to round it to 14.1. Okay, so that is that x. Just that 10 times the sine of 52 divided by 34. Not too bad, right? All right, let's try another one here. Let's look at this one. Again, we're just going to label our triangle. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is call it A, B, and C. Across from angle A is little a. Across from angle B is little b. And across from angle C is little c. So now we're just figuring out which ratios do we use. Okay, so again, I look to what I'm asked for. I'm asked for this x right there, which I called b. So we're going to use the sine of angle b over little b. And then I look to see what side I'm given. So you'll notice right here, 7 is the only side I know. I don't know what we're calling a right here. So 7 is what we called c. We're going to use the sine of c over c as the second, as the other side of the proportion. Okay, now just fill in your b's and your c's, your angle b's and side b's, angle c's, side c's. So I've got the sine, angle b, which was 119, divided by little b, that's my unknown, that's my x, is equal to the sine of angle c. Angle c was at 21 degrees, divided by little c, which is 7. All right, then cross products, again, remember you just take top times the other bottom. So let's write this over here. 7 times the sine of 119 degrees is equal to top times the other bottom. So x times the sine of 21 degrees. And then we're solving for x. We want x all by itself. So you're just going to divide by that sine of 21 degrees. Then we've got our x. Remember, divide both sides by that sine of 21 degrees. So x here is equal to, just type this straight into your calculator, 7 sine 119. I hit enter, and then divide by sine of 21, enter, and I have 17.08. So again, we're going to round that to a 1. Please note as well, just kind of something to look out for. Notice that 21 degree angle, that's your smallest angle in this nice little, well, I guess we don't know this one, but it's a lot smaller than this 119 angle. So this side across from it is also going to be quite a bit smaller from the side across from the 119. So just make sure if you get a number smaller than 7, but your angle is bigger, then you're going to need to redo that. But 17.1 seems like a good answer, and we're going to circle that. All right, next video, we'll have the next few examples.